and now the plaza, you can see it now, it's finished, just recently finished. And so the water comes down the column and runs down this river, which is the Pudong River that runs right through Shanghai. And it's a granite landscape, like the one that I traveled around is on the left-hand side. Granite benches, I did all the lighting, and then you can see a little grid work of things over here on the right. There was another piece of art that I had to move, and I said that's actually a good place to look at the whole plaza. So I was able to get rid of that and add another piece to the piece. But I've been working in China for about 20 years and doing plazas all over China.
And next, which brings us, that was the last image. So let's go take the chairs. Alex would come here and she'll pass the mic around for questions.
We've been doing these performances in communities all over and involving, not bringing our people, but actually getting the people from the community, their dancers, their musicians, and I bring in my stage, I set the stage, and so it brings them kind of crossover. And then when people come to the performance, we offer them 2 pieces of stone, one natural stone and then one carved stone. And we show them how to make high and low pitched sounds from them. So they play along in the performance. And then in the performance, in the finale, I'm actually playing on a big piece of stone and everyone's hitting their stone at the same time. And I'm building pressure in this big block. And then when I hit it and it finally breaks open, everybody's hit it at the same time and they can feel it, and the dust comes up and the piece falls and rocks on the floor, and then the lights go off, and it's like, you know, it's very touching to people. It really we really have a fun time. Mainly that's what I'm doing these days, about creating spaces, creating sacred spaces, and involving the community to create the places so they can buy into the project. And if without that ownership, I feel like that people don't really respect the place unless they actually can tell their kids, I worked on that, and then they can come and work on it.
Beautiful.
Big answer.
Another question for Jesus. Okay, in the back there, and if you just wait for the microphone, it is coming.
I was talking last week with Will Thompson, and he talked about a harrowing experience he had with you, where he expected you to have big equipment to move a tall piece of sculpture in the gallery there. I think maybe your daughter was with you, and he described it as taking it off the base as if you were recreating the equivalent of the pyramids. And he said that your preference was to do as much as you could with minimal tools in terms of complexity. Comment?
You know, a lot of people look at stone, and I remember at the Latino Cultural Center, I had, for my 10th anniversary exhibition, I had a piece that weighed about, 12,000 pounds and about this big around, about 10 feet tall. And I was talking around, doing a lecture on the pieces and talking about, and someone asked the same question about moving these pieces. And I said, you know, a lot of people look at these things and they just imagine that they can't, and they could never. And I imagine, how much can I move? Not what I can't do. And so I just bear hugged that piece, and I started like dancing with it without it moving at all, because it's, I mean, a really big piece, and the base was this wide. And after about a minute, I had that thing dancing, and then and I know when it would go this way, and then I turned it, and then I got it, and then it turned it this way, and so I walked it about 2 feet over. So it's just a matter of saying, if you can't even imagine, you're not going to do it. You know, so you have to be, you know, the will to want to do it, and then have some experience. You know, when I saw the pyramids, you know, I said, that was a big project. It's not, that wasn't like Martians coming over, And I just looked at it and I said, those stones, not a problem, It's just a lot of people, so not like Machu Picchu, which is something that, I can't imagine, it's different.
Do you have another question for Jesus? We have one up front here from William, if you wait for the microphone.
How many years have you been working with granite?
I've been working over 30 years, just over 30 years. But I first worked with granite in college. My last thing that I ever did was I went and I didn't discover sculpture till my last semester in college, my last year, and I got my first B in sculpture, and I went like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be bad at something. And so I took sculpture again, and then found out the teacher had never ever given anybody an A, and so anyway, so I wanted to try all the different kinds, welding and bronze and wood carving, and then I tried stone carving, and then different kinds of stone, and then finally I wanted to try granite. And so I went to Oklahoma. I was at the University of North Texas up in North, and the closest quarries are in Oklahoma. So I rented a trailer and got these 2 blocks and got my chisel and hammer, and I took it out and hit it and broke the chisel in half. I went like, oh my gosh. So then I had to use my GI Bill money to buy tools, and so then I got my tools and got my earplugs and my gloves and my goggles and my mask and my overcoat, and I was working on this granite until about 30 minutes, and I couldn't hold my arms up anymore. So I stopped. I was so exhausted, and the dust settled, and there were like 30 people around me that had been watching me like this close, and I was oblivious to the whole thing. I mean, I was so entangled with this piece that's when I first realized that there was some kind of connection there, that it was pushing me instead of me pushing it. It's still pushing me and winning, but that's really when I started, and that was in 1978. So it's been a kind of a long road.
Any other question right over here from Tom?
Jesus, you have, I would like to know your comment about how to play the granite, the singing granite. I had a piece of yours entitled Singing Comb that I donated to the McNay Museum, and I would take and rub my knuckle on it, and it would have the most wonderful sound. But that's all I ever did. I didn't want to put any instrument or anything more than something sort of soft. But what would you have suggested one play it with?
Well, that's interesting because, in working with the granite and the noises there, I'm tone deaf, so I can't hear a thing. So I couldn't help you there. But I know that I've gone to the Erickson schools, and I worked with kids all the time. And I took a musical fish, and the music teacher came in and ran the drumstick over, and it said better to use actually things for percussion on them, and it just went like that one time, and then played Mary Had a Little Lamb on it. And so the people that know how to do it, and that's why I always involve the percussionist from the community to do it. We actually did one here at Blue Star, where we engaged, Bill Fitzgibbons engaged Suda Buddha, a 13-piece group to play in an exhibition, and they brought in instruments that they were homemade, and we did an amazing musical at the we had hanging diamond blades. I used my diamond blades as symbols, and one of the things that we saw in the show that we didn't see was I did 5 museum shows in Dallas at the same time, which just about killed me, and a gallery show exhibition at a gallery at Gerald Peters. And that just about did me in. And then the next year I did it again with 5 museums in West Texas. But what the show at the Dallas Museum was called Rock, Roll, and Play. And the audience could all come in there and play, and we had a video of a performance, and you could play along with a video of the performance. In the center of the show was a prayer wheel that I had created after going to Tibet and seeing that the prayer wheel in Tibet was about this big, about 8 feet tall, and they spend this day and night for prayers for the world. And I thought that was such a great idea, so I made a 8-foot diameter, 11-foot tall, and a prayer wheel, and I put it in the middle of that show, and I couldn't turn it. But together we could turn it, but we all had to agree on which way we were going to turn it. And so it was just fun to see kids turning it, and it was a great. So the musical things, people who do it, they do it quite well. We drill holes in granite at different lengths, and you run your hand over it and go boop boop boop, and then they play them, and there's just all kinds of instruments that we make. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it's just about 8 o'clock, so let's take let's get one more question from Sonny.
I'm just curious if you ever run into a piece of granite that doesn't allow you to do what you want to do with it. Does it ever break on you or go away in a way that you didn't have in mind? Or
the short answer is that I feel that things sometimes break for a reason, and they lead to other things. And so I don't
Like tonight with the technology.
so I don't really feel that things really break. I think that they just lead you somewhere else, and sometimes they lead you to a much better place. Right now, our current work's it's called granite rings. So we have rings that are over 8 feet tall and 5 feet wide. Piece of granite ring that weighs less than 100 pounds. And we have rings that are about this big around, this big, and you can pick up with your little finger. And so we're pushing the envelope, but for every one we make, we break one. So, but the ones that break, I think are still, I'm not throwing them away.
That's the happy accident. That's the whole joy of creativity, is just the unexpected element. And I know there are a lot of artists here, and they know what I mean. It's sometimes that thing that you weren't expecting is the answer you've been looking for. And what answers you've shared with us tonight, Jesus, in spite of the strange format, it was fabulous, and we're so glad that you were able to be here with us tonight. Let's get to